7. I am Enyonam Haligah. Coming up this afternoon, growing fears as Ghana could be blacklisted by the United States and other EU countries as a list of Ghanaians arrested for cyber crime-related activities continue to grow. Also, European Union ambassador calls for increased efforts to promote responsible mining practices as he tours the Galamsey site in Chebi in the eastern region. And much later, residents of Ituna in the Jama South resist attempt to undertake gold prospecting activities in their community. Details of our headlines and other stories, please stay with us. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Going to a first story now, where a series of high-profile arrests linked to million-dollar scams has brought Ghana right into the center of conversation again over threat of cybercrime and romance scam. The latest, we're talking about the 3 arrests of Ghanaians by the United States Department of Justice for romance scam, wire fraud, and other cyber-related crimes. According to the court documents filed in the United States, 2 Ghanaian brothers, Jamal Abubakari, also known as Arrangement, and Kamal Abubakari, also known as Lancaster, both aged 22, and 1 Amanda Joy Opoku Boache, 53, used fake identities to convict victims to part ways with large sums of money. The latest arrest brings a total to 16 Ghanaians arrested in connection with authorities prompting fear and development could result in the country being slapped with certain restrictions. But who are these individuals, and what is the scale of the problem being unraveled by the arrest? Joining us in studio, it's a member of the research desk at 3 News here, Wisdom Safo, with some details. Wisdom, thank you so much for joining us in studio. What is, give us the overview of the situation so far.
So, Enyonam, we went back 2 years to look at fraud-related cases and the crackdown on fraud activities linked to Ghanaians trying to dupe money from the US, and we counted over 16 cases, 16 people, and the money or the total amount involved is in excess of $140 million. And out of those 16 people, about 7 of them, 7 defendants, have pleaded guilty so far. And when we calculated the combined prison sentences, we are looking at over 50 years in combined prison sentences. So let's look at some of the major cases. I heard you mentioning the Abubakari network, which is linked to one of the biggest, exceeding over $100 million. So the case involving MP Ohene Kwame Frimpong, right? It involves an allegation of up to $32 million, though no charges have been filed yet. And we remember the Abutrika case, which involves some 8 million AI-powered romance scam. We also remember our socialite Mona Faiz Montrach, also known as Haja for Real, right? And she was sentenced in the US, and the fraud scheme was involving some $2 million. So there are lots I can run you through, and about 16 people have been involved, or there's been a crackdown on them, and currently prosecutions are ongoing.
And we understand that there was also a foreign national involved in the Lancaster and Arrangement case, of which they're 22 years old. Can you run us through that too?
Yes. So for the one involving the Lancaster one, currently they are also under prosecution. The FBI, together with the appropriate agencies and the fraud detection unit of the United States, are in contact with the IOCO to see how best they can go around the situation and bring them to justice as well.
Thank you so much, Wisdom. And that was my colleague, Wisdom Safo. He's a member of the research desk here at 3 News. Now, we'll go on to the phone lines now, and we're joined by Richard Kumado. He's a fraud and security analyst. Mr. Kumado, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us. I mean, how are Ghanaian linked to romance scam networks typically structured, and what roles do these individuals, like the ones who have recently been arrested, play in such operations? It appears we may have lost contact with Mr. Kumado, and we'll connect shortly with him soon. But Wisdom, I mean, We're still on the romance scam
Yes.
issue.
Yes, we recall the Lancaster case. His actual name is Kamal Abubakari, right? He is a 22-year-old individual. He's a co-defendant, and he was interdicted just this year. So with the same charges, right? The same charges with Jamal Abubakari, who was also called arrangement. So their charges is conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering, and there has been some alleged romance fraud network since July 2024 to April 2026. So they are targeting elderly Americans. He was arrested in Virginia, and he has been remanded in U.S. Marshal custody as we speak.
Thank you so much. We're going back to the phone lines where we're joined by Richard Kumado. He's a fraud and security analyst. Mr. Kumado, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I mean, we're hearing so many Ghanaians linked to romance scam networks. How are they typically structured, and what roles do these individuals play in these operations?
I didn't hear the question, please. Can you?
Yes, I was asking, we're seeing quite a number, about 16 Ghanaian linked to romance scam. How are these operations structured, and what roles do these individuals play in such operations?
Definitely, romance fraud is one of the frauds that comes under financial crime, and predominantly it's an online crime. So they deploy various methodologies to entrap vulnerable people. And if you look at the persons being mentioned, most of them are vulnerable people. It's also true that the guys involved in this scheme have developed capacity over the years and have had sophisticated tools at their disposal, which makes it easier for them to entrap anybody online that is very vulnerable. So that is where we are.
There are also some concerns that Ghana could be blacklisted, for lack of a better word. I mean, following all these repeated arrests of Ghanaians involved in these scams. Could it lead to diplomatic or financial restrictions on the country going forward?
No, what it does is that when it comes to nation, the rating of Ghana from financial crime point of view or from money laundering point of view by FATF, Financial Action Task Force with headquarters in France, we might have challenges with that. And they may downgrade it or they may review our rating schemes. And that has a number of implications that goes way beyond diplomacy. It has nothing to do with diplomacy anyway, but it has everything to do with financial transactions and international businesses coming into your country.
Mr. Kumado, now let's talk about some steps Ghana can, the authorities can take to curb the rise in
investigate it, prosecute criminals, confiscate their assets. One of the things we don't do properly is to confiscate the assets of the criminals. We call it proceeds from crime, and it has always been a problem for us. So if we don't investigate it, we don't prosecute the criminals, they will continue to do it, particularly if we don't confiscate the crimes, the proceeds they use in getting some of these properties. Until we are able to do so, we'll have problems.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kumado, for joining us this afternoon. And that was Richard Kumado. He's a fraud and security analyst. Now, moving on to some other stories, as the European Union ambassador to Ghana says efforts towards the fight against illegal mining, popularly known as galamsey, is not sustainable without long-term regulations and strict enforcement measures. The EU ambassador spoke about a fact-finding solution and mission with his delegation to part of the Itiwa Forest Range and communities affected by illegal mining activities in the Ebuakwa South municipality of the Eastern region. Let's take a listen to the EU ambassador's thoughts on the growing concern over irresponsible mining and its environmental impact.
Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
Our stance is that what we are seeing today is definitely not sustainable. We know that there are problems with enforcing also this framework which has been laid down, and today we have seen or partly understood why. We can see whole communities benefiting from Galamsey, but in the short term. We've also seen, and we can see here around ourselves, the effects it has on nature. And on top of what we can see, we know that it's polluting the water bodies. 65% of the water bodies in Ghana are now polluted due to Galamsey. I think to address a complex issue like Galamsey, first of all, we need to think long term. We need to think sustainability. We need to have regulation, and we need to have enforcement of the regulation. It requires a lot of resources to do that, but now is a good time. Gold prices are high. We can have a regulated exploration of gold and still make a profit. So the EU is doing a multitude of things in Ghana. We are partnering in Ghana in a series of areas, certainly in development cooperation, also in security and defense, and we are very willing to partner with Ghana on the Galamsey file also.
That was the European Union's ambassador to Ghana, Rune Skin, back there sharing some thoughts on illegal mining as his delegation visited the Itiwa forest and some communities affected by illegal mining. We'll be joined shortly by our Eastern Regional correspondent, Yvonne Ikwe. Yvonne, thank you so much for joining us today. You were on the tour with the European ambassador. Tell us more.
Well, as we speak, the EU mission has concluded its mission of fact-finding and the part of the Itiwa rainforest, and then communities in the Ibuakwa South municipality. Specifically, they wanted to understand exactly what is causing the many or the several lands that are being distracted, and exactly what communities are being affected. Now, from the EU's point of view, they believe that in as much as in the short term, communities and people who are involved in the illegal or irresponsible mining are having some benefits. In the long term, its impact on the environment and water bodies is something government must deal with. It did acknowledge that government, its policy and use of force by NIMOS and the municipal security forces, it is quite doing an effort to commit itself to stop it. But that is not sustainable. They are hoping that from now on until some time that governments have, it would be able to resolve the situation by enforcing regulations and then ensuring that we're protecting the environment. As we speak, quite a large area has been destroyed. We do know that this is not an issue that began now. It began several years ago. What is worrying is that we're having several of the water bodies and then huge landslides being affected. Critically is the Itiwa rainforest, which produces water for people in the eastern and Greater Accra regions, over 4 million. If we lose that particular forest, it means that we've lost quite food production. We're going to lose access to water, and that is the rippling effect of the Galamsey issue that we all may be devastated by.
Right. You were there in person with the ambassador. Paint a vivid picture of how the problem of illegal mining is in that area.
Well, for what I saw, for what my very eyes did see, it's an alarming situation. People are mining disregard of whatever laws we're having in this country. Private developers would soon lose their houses or lands to these illegal miners. We know that some senior high school in the next 5 or 10 years may not be able to coexist in that environment because already 300 meters away, you could see inside excavators mining. Already, communities have lost their access to water. Farmlands are gone, and people are still mining. Right by the stretch of the road, we'll see people mining. And so we've moved from the alarming or devastating issue, overwhelming, I should say. Again, people in that area cannot have access to water as I speak. The Tini water tinted plant has only been working for the past 9 months. And so This is how devastating it is for the people in that particular area, in Buakwa South municipality. It is not only these municipalities, perhaps it is the target municipalities that the EU was doing its fact-finding mission, but across the eastern region, several of the districts and municipalities are having this impact of the illegal mining as well, packed on the wide stretch. In as much as we have seen NIMOS have some arrests made, unfortunately, those arrests do not end up into anything meaningful to deter people from engaging in it. And so we're seeing people still engaging in illegal and irresponsible mining activity.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. And that was Yvonne Nikwe. She's our Eastern Regional Correspondent, bringing us some updates there. Now, still on illegal mining, the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat has arrested 3 nationals for engaging in illegal mining activities and polluting the Tana River during a riverine operation in the Amenfid West district of the Western region. The operation, conducted jointly by the Blue Water Guards, targeted illegal mining activities along the river. The suspect identifies as Ding Jung, age 37, Deng Binghua, as age 50, were arrested at Oforikrom after operatives encountered miners using Shanfang machines mounted on a floating platform on the Tana River. Several other illegal miners reportedly fled the scene on seeing the task force. In a statement, NIMOS said the 3 suspects were actively overseeing mining operations at the site and have since been handed over to the Ghana Immigration Service Enforcement Unit in Accra for further action. The task force also retrieved a pump-action gun, 12 cartridges, and a Toyota Hilux pickup with registration number GS528822. The statement noted that illegal mining activities had severely polluted the Tana River, destroyed farmlands, and significantly reduced the depth of the river. More than 20 Shanfang machines, together with pipelines and makeshift structures, were found at the site were destroyed during the operation. NIMOS says it remains committed to clamping down on illegal mining activities along the country's waterways and has warned offenders to comply with responsible mining regulations or face sanctions. Now, away from illegal mining to the court now, as drama unfolded at the High Court when the first defense witness mounted the witness box to testify in favor of the former NPP Ashanti Regional Chairman, Bernard Enchibuesiako, popularly referred to as Chairman Wuntumi. Wisdom Edem Gumashi, a mining engineer by profession, had to be taken back several details in his sworn statement after the court admitted into evidence. My colleague Lord Edwasari reports.
During cross-examination by Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Shremsai, it emerged that the witness's academic qualifications and educational history were contradictory. For example, when asked about his age, Edem Gumashi told the court that he was born in April 1993. His witness statement cited 1998 as the year he obtained his first degree. The Deputy Attorney General, bemused by the development, again pointed to another inconsistency in which the witness statement averred that the mining engineer obtained his master's degree from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, but insisted that the degrees were actually awarded by the University of Mines and Technology and the University of Ghana. When questioned about the inconsistencies, Edem Gumashi admitted the errors, but maintained that they were the results of mistakes and typographical omissions in the statement. Presiding Judge Audrey Kokuvite directed the witness to make the corrections so the court could update the records. Proceeding with his testimony, the mining engineer indicated that verbal permission cannot amount to the assignment of mineral rights under Ghana's mining laws. Citing the Mining Act 703, Wuntumi's first witness held that assignment of a mineral right, among other things, involves a documented written approval from the lands minister, which he maintained was missing after reviewing the charge sheet, facts of the case, and the ruling of the High Court. Gumashi further explained that permitting the individual to do a reclamation exercise on the mining concession, as was done by Wuntumi, did not constitute a transfer or assignment of Akonta Mining's lease. But Deputy Attorney General Shremsai suggested to the witness that he had no expertise in law, noting that his interpretation and expert opinion on the matter were not properly grounded. Andy Apiakubi, lead counsel for Chairman Wuntumi, sought to bring clarity on the issues of inconsistencies in the witness statement.
Our secretariat engages in a lot of typing of witness statements. I suspect that in the course of the typing, the imported dates of maybe previous witnesses into the witness statement. So these were just typos, and they are not consequential to the subject matter.
Chairman Wontumi and his company, Akonta Mining, have been charged with assigning mineral rights without authorization and facilitating illegal mining at Samaraboy in the Western region. They have pleaded not guilty and are on bail. A third accused person remains at large.
That was a report of my colleague Lord Edwasar. This is still the midday news here on 3FM 92.7. Now to some other stories. As residents of Etuna in the Jama South district of the Bono region are mounting strong resistance against plans by the Ghana Geological Service Authority and Gold Board to undertake gold prospecting activities in their community. The residents say they will do everything in their power to stop any attempt to explore for gold on their lands, insisting that mining activities could destroy their farmlands and livelihoods. A report by Claude Kumi Ebisa.
Community leaders and youth of Atuna have expressed their deep-rooted concerns following a visit from representatives of Gold Board and Ghana Geological Survey Authority, who revealed plans to commence gold prospecting activities in the area. This announcement has ignited fierce opposition among residents who fear that mining operations could severely disrupt their traditional farming practices and threaten their livelihoods. Local leaders and passionate youth activists rallied together to convey their grievances, stressing potential dangers posed by the proposed mining activities. Some youth have even pledged to risk their lives in a bid to prevent any prospecting effects. They came to our community to inform us that they want to survey our land to determine the minerals in it. But all we are saying is we will not allow that to happen here in Atuna.
In fact, they hate it because we just don't want it. So they should not come out. We don't want to see them coming there with a name of perspective. They went to Fedenda, they went to Edgebush, and wherever they go, they preach responsible mining. Like they go back the next week, you see and find machines that are used to do illegal mining. Galamsey. We don't want it. They should not come at all. We don't want to do something we don't want. We are here. We don't want the illegal to come. So we are ever prepared. We have expressed our concern today. Say we don't want it.
The chief of Atuna, Nana Apia Kubi Abebio, expressed commitment to defending their land and way of life.
I
will not trade our land for money from either government or anyone for gold. I reiterate my commitment that no one loves this land than myself. The land is mine. Should I watch it destroyed? So I agree with my people. We will not accept it. As tensions rise, the community is rallying together, organizing meetings and mobilizing efforts to ensure their voices are heard.
That was a report from my colleague Claude Kumi Ebisa. We're taking you up north now, where the Member of Parliament for Yapio Kuswagu constituency and the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Abdullahi Janapo, has described the national chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, as the beacon behind the party's victory in the 2024 general elections. Speaking during the chairman's thank you tour in the constituency, John Janapo commended Mr. Asiedu Nketia for his leadership, guidance and support throughout the electioneering period, which he contributed significantly to NDC's return to power. He noted that despite the electoral victory, the constituency continues to face major developmental challenges, particularly the lack of water in the community. We'll go on to the phone lines now and speak to my colleague Christopher Amako, who has been following this development and brings us updates from the day 2 of the tour. Christopher, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. We understand it's day 2 of Chairman Asiedu Nketia's tour of the Savannah region. What can you report?
Yes, so I must say that the chairman earlier today visited the palace of the Yagbongra, that is the Japa Palace, to formally thank him and the good people of the Savannah region for the support they gave the NDC during the 2024 general elections. For the chairman, he believes that the traditional authorities, party supporters, and all communities contributed to the victory of the NDC in the 2024 general election. He's been telling the people that the Savannah region is the home region of the president, and that, like other regions, they will not be left out in the developmental agenda of government. The member of parliament for the Yape Kosovo constituency, who doubles as the energy minister, John Jinapo, has been eulogizing the NDC party chairman for his contribution to the party's victory in the 2024 general election. Let's take a listen to the minister and what he's been saying.
NDC there, they be first, always, every time they be first. Ezu, yedi kai, the person made and chiaka sia Emma party chairman. Samukaya 2020 Obaha abe support you make a sia pa 2024 Osign Baha abe support you me. Na minia na umpewe na upedie. The chairman Yamawakwa back a Siapa Yape Kosovo constituency. It is the biggest constituency in Savannah region. It has the highest number of voters in Savannah region. It is all we need Yape Kosovo. Not just a presidential idea. Over Plaza House. Na isi akasa. Your major problem will be ensuo ye a major problem. Na me shamuko say once I me mo MPM minister na enche ye be ma mo pipe water mu bia ensuo ne be ba flowing na bonya ensuo. Ensu akwan no so ya started protest no ye wie pe ye be ya akwan ne nyina kama ma mo na bibia koye. Ensu 24-hour market so ye wa ha. The mesramo the babuchao munya abotre ema abanwe ye baye yenya 2 years ago yenim se mo pe adwuma yenim se mo pe business afiwe mia me yisika ye to fertilizer 2,000 bucks condemn 2,000 bucks with this size 2,000 bucks ye de ma farmers na na mo dia problem ezu. And
that was the Member of Parliament for Yapio Kusogu, the John Abdullahi Jinapo. Christopher, and we understand that Asudin Ketia has also been on the tour. What has he been telling the people of the region?
Yes, so since yesterday, he's been visiting some palaces and engaging party supporters in the constituencies he has visited. He's so far visited the Salaga South, Salaga North, Daboya, Mankarigu, Yape Kusogo. Today he's in the Damongo constituency. He'll be going to the Solatuna Kauba constituency. Then he'll wrap it all up in the Bole constituency. And he's been reassuring the people that the NDC government will deliver and that the Savannah region will not be left out. He's also indicated to party supporters who may feel aggrieved over appointments that they should calm down. The party will look into getting more opportunities for the youth of the country, of which the party supporters are also inclusive. Let's take a listen to what he's been saying.
To enter the town. So let's watch and see that and pray that President Mahama will deliver on these things. And those of us who helped the party to come to power, you will not be forgotten about. The longer we stay in power, the better the chances of everybody realizing their expectation. But if we just get out of frustration and begin attacking our own government, begin running down our government, The rest of Ghanaians will say that even those who brought the government are complaining. So they also join you, and then you work to remove your own government. So whatever you are looking for, which you cannot get now under President Mahama, trust me, you can never get it under Dr. Bawumia.
That was the NDC's national chairman, Johnson Asiedu Nketia there. That brings us to the end of Midday News here on 3FM 92.7. For more news, please check our website at 3news.com. I am Enyonam Haligah. Business News is right up.
FM 92.7 Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
Now time for Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up this afternoon, Cocoa Board to launch $1 billion local cocoa bond overhaul as the sector tries to repay its 30-year-old financial model. Also, the Ghana Revenue Authority partners Chief Imam to educate Muslim business community on new modified tax scheme.
The Muslim business community has been very receptive. The discussion has been very engaging, and we've taken note of all the issues that they have with regard to taxation, and we are ready to engage them further.
Much later, Government of Ghana eyes 4.3 billion cedis treasury bill auction as the under-subscription streak ends today. Details for headlines and other stories, please stay with us. To our first story now, where Ghana is preparing to launch a $1 billion in cedi equivalent for domestic cocoa bond program starting this July, signaling a major shift in how the countries fund its vital cocoa industry. The strategy aimed at financing cocoa purchases for the upcoming 2026-27 crop year moves the country away from its 3-decade-old reliance on foreign syndicated loans. There's more in the following 3 Business report. According to details emerging from 3 business sources familiar with the matter, the $1 billion issuance will be structured in cedi-denominated tranches to minimize reliance on foreign lenders and reduce exposure to dollar funding volatility. The capital will be raised in 3 distinct waves, namely Tranche 1 in mid-July 2026 with an amount of $330 million, Tranche 2 in December 2026 with $330 million, while Tranche 3 is expected to be issued in March 2027 with an amount of $330 million. Under this new module, Cocoa Board is expected to fully pay off each tranche using proceeds from immediate cocoa sales before issuing the next. For over 30 years, Cocoa Board relied on offshore borrowing backed by forward cocoa sales to secure seasonal liquidity. While the old framework consistently brought in foreign exchange, it required up to 92% of Ghana's cocoa crop to be collateralized to foreign financiers. This left the sector vulnerable to global credit shifts, volatile market prices, and severe operational strain when production targets fluctuated. The critical test for the new program lies in domestic investor confidence. Ghana's local capital market is still recovering from a sweeping debt restructuring that hits the institutional fixed income portfolios. To succeed, Cocoa Board must convince commercial banks, asset managers, and pension funds that these new bonds feature ring-fenced cash flows and transparent repayment legal structures. That was a 3 Business Newsdesk report on Cocoa Board set to launch $1 billion local cocoa bond to overhaul the sector's 30-year-old financing module. Now to some other stories. The government of Ghana returned to the domestic markets today, aiming to raise 4.3 billion cedis throughout its weekly treasury bill auction. The auction featured the standard 3 tenors, that's we're talking about the 91-day, 182-day and 364-day bills. There's more in the following 3 Business report.
Government plans to deploy the proceeds to help finance the 2026 national budget and to meet short-term maturing debts obligations. This target of 4.3 billion cedis comes at a crucial turning point for the state's fiscal managers. Government recently broke a challenging 7-week streak of under-subscription, a period during which market appetite fell consistently short of the state's borrowing targets. Market analysts are closely watching Friday's outcome to see if investor demand will hold steady. The recent break in the undersubscription trend is being viewed as a tentative sign of stabilizing investor sentiment fueled by the country's broader macroeconomic recovery and recent credit rating upgrades. However, achieving the 4.3 billion cedis target will depend heavily on whether commercial banks and institutional investors maintain their renewed interest in government paper.
That was a 3 Business Newsdesk report on the government of Ghana eyeing 4.3 billion cedis treasury auction as under-subscription streak ends. Meanwhile, trading activity at the Ghana fixed income market surged on Thursday, May 14, 2026, with the total turnover rebounding to 1.50 billion cedis across 326 trades, driven heavily by liquidity-seeking institutional investors. The market recovery was anchored by sell-by-back transactions, which accounted for a dominant 61.85% of the day's total value, yielding 927.26 million cedis. Treasury bill followed with 404.64 million cedis, representing 26.99%, whilst domestic debt exchange program bonds brought in 166.29 million cedis. Corporate bonds saw thin trading at 1.04 million cedis, and there was zero activity in the standard new or old government of Ghana notes. To some other stories now, as a fierce debate has erupted over the future of Ghana's mining sector following calls by the Institute of Economic Affairs for the government to reject the renewal of Goldfields Takwa mining lease. In a swift and strong pushback, the Ghana Chamber of Mines has warned that denying the extension could severely damage investor confidence, weaken security of tenure, and destabilize one of the nation's most critical revenue and foreign exchange generating sectors.
The IEA had argued that Ghana's mineral wealth should deliver more direct benefits to citizens rather than foreign companies. But the chamber says the proposals are based on factual inaccuracies and a selective reading of history. Speaking at a press conference, Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber, Engineer Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe, cautioned against policies that could reverse gains made in the sector.
The minister is sitting in the UN talking to investors. The questions they will be asking is that this thing that you're doing, then if I bring my 1 billion into your market, how would the certainty be? So it definitely would impact on investor confidence.
The Chamber of Mines says Ghana's experience with state-controlled mining in the early 1980s led to declining outputs, underinvestment, and economic challenges, while private sector participation later helped grow gold production significantly. It argues that the Minerals and Mining Act clearly requires governments to renew leases where companies have met their obligations, warning that failure to do so could undermine investor confidence and damage Ghana's international reputation. The Chamber has, however, welcomed the establishment of a ministerial committee to review the revocation of Adamus Resources mining leases, stressing the need for due process to be followed.
The Chamber is equally mindful of the importance of due process in regulatory and enforcement action. And we have noted the position of Adamus Resources Limited and its legal representatives They contend that the revocation did not follow the statutory notice requirement under Section 68(2) of Act 703 and Regulation 203 of LI 2176. These procedural protections underpin the rule of law and investor confidence in Ghana's mining sector, and they must not be disregarded.
And before we go, news just coming in from the presidency indicates that Ghana has successfully concluded the IMF Extended Credit Facility Program and transitioned to a non-financing technical assistant policy coordination instrument. Now, this was signed by the spokesperson for the president and the Minister for Government Communication, Felix Kwachi Ofosu. We have details of these stories as is developed.